We had this question come in, and I just wanted – it's a bit of a long question, everyone, but I think we can chew on it a little bit. My partner and I are on track to have $100K in savings for a house by March. So what's that, 2 months?
It is now.
It is 2 months, okay.
Well, even less.
Less, whatever. We are not in any need for a house yet, okay, and would probably be looking to buy in maybe 4 years as an investment, okay. But the thought of paying for the house twice with interest on a mortgage is terrifying. Okay, so they're terrified that if they buy a $400,000 house over the mortgage term, they're probably paying $400K in interest. Is that a fair vibe that I'm getting?
I think that's what I'm hearing. Yes.
We live remote and have food and accommodation included in our $65K package. Only expenses are rego and car insurance. So, I mean, to have food and accommodation included in a package, you'd probably gross that up 15, 20 grand. So I guess we can easily save $41K per year together for this house deposit, plus 5.5% savings from interest. Once we get to the 100K mark, that savings account will not produce interest over the 100K. So it's one of those short-term promo accounts or whatever.
Yep.
So my question is, what should we do to make the most out of this money? We can start another savings account for the 5.5% savings, but this is only as long as interest rates remain high, or invest, ? We previously have taken 10K out to put in crypto, and thankfully that has doubled in value. I don't suggest you'd probably want to put more than that in crypto, and if it has doubled, I'd probably take some chips off the old table, because now you've got effectively 20% of your savings in crypto. Sounds wild, but I'm in. We are thinking to perhaps do that again, or also put into FMG. I currently have shares in that, and I like the idea of a 10% yield. Open to suggestions. Other information, we both regularly invest in the share market, crypto and super, and are also saving for a year-long trip in about 3 years. Shiver me timbers, Johnny. Shiver me timbers.
I'm reading between the lines here. We can get 100K in savings to have a house by March, but we don't want it for another 4 years. And I'm reading between the lines to say we don't want it for another 4 years because we've got a year-long trip in 3 years. Is that fair to say?
It's all coming together.
Right.
We'll do the trip.
Yes.
We'll come back
and buy
a house.
Okay.
Sweet.
Remote location, no problem with that. How long's the free food and accommodation going to last? How much can we lend? Because the thing with lending, banks will put an element of food and accommodation into your life regardless of whether you're getting it given to you for free or not. So I'd be interested to see what their lending capacity is right now given their package is 65K.
Yeah, and it's not clear. It just sounds to me, we live remote, so it's obviously there's a partner, they said, and this is anonymous, everyone, their partner and I, they've both got this package of 65.
So is that 130?
I think it is. So what I'm reading between the lines is maybe they're in potentially a mining camp or something.
Yeah, or running a farm or something.
Or a camp or something like that.
Yes.
So they're both on 65 package.
Yes. Have you ever had someone email in and say, what you guys surmised was totally incorrect?
No, but
any case, so
of course it's incorrect because we're making it up.
Yes. So how much can we lend? Can we buy that now? Well, and rent it out? Like we got this free food and accommodation forever and a day? Probably not. Do we want to live in this remote location long term, or is this just a give and go sort of thing? Just get in there, earn some money, save some good coin, and then move back to the city. I don't know. This is obviously where it always becomes interesting. But if and I actually had a conversation with someone yesterday about this. No, actually, it was the first thing this morning. Been a long day. They want to stay in this remote town for 20 years. Not this one, the one I spoke to this morning. So we're buying there straight away, right? Regardless of its performance, because we know the yield's good and that's what we can do. Now, the fact that we're living on free, no food, no accommodation means that our running costs are lean. We can rent the property out that we're buying and move into it when our free food and accommodation dries up. That's just one scenario. If they're not thinking of staying here long term, then don't buy anything. Put your 100 in a 5.5 savings account and put it into ETFs or something that's low risk. If you need that 100 in 4 years, you're not going to buy something that's rigid.
Yeah, and so when I look at this stuff, I really look between the lines. So I've looked between the lines or looked at the tea leaves or whatever. You need to look up and more to the future and your strategy. And you've half got a strategy. And this is awesome because you've got a concrete plan that we're on track to have 100K in savings for a house by March. Now, because you're not buying a house in 4 years, you're on track to have 100K by March. That's basically what it is, right?
Yeah. So the March bit's irrelevant.
The March bit's irrelevant. The house bit is also a little bit irrelevant because there's no intention to buy a house until 4 years. Unless, like you said, if the shoe can fit somewhere. So I'm reading that we've got this 4-year marker and then we're just really micro. And the problem with getting and the two things that stick out to me on the micro is, and yeah, they can say 41 grand a year. So awesome, right? But we're getting micro, okay, we've got that 100 grand, we're getting 5.5% interest. Okay, we're going to cap that out and we're going to go to another bank and get another 5.5. It's getting micro. We're looking at FNG because of the yield of 10%. And I would say we can't ever have any strategy around the precise yield. So and they acknowledge that. We can't say we're going to do the cash thing because it's getting 5.5. We can't say we're doing Fortescue Metal because it's getting 10% yield, which I don't know if, unless FMG is some crypto thing or I don't know. But my point remains in the book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, I spent a whole chapter talking about strategy. And they've half done it here, but they've half got caught in the weeds.
Yeah.
And getting caught in the weeds will, if you're not rock solid on your strategy and chasing the $100 interest a year and chasing this, it will cause you to go offline with your strategy.
Overanalyze.
Yeah. So what open to all suggestions. Well, here's my suggestion, right? What I'm doing, we know that we can save 40K a year. I want you to first ask yourself, where is home going to be? You touched on this. If home is in the same town now and it's got a good rental yield, and remember, I've said we're not running the yield thing as the thing, but it's a consideration because we've decided that if home is in this current regional town and the investment opportunity stacks up, because that's unlike the other way where it's like, oh, we live here, we want to buy a house here, we're going to buy it as an investment property, and the investing fundamentals aren't there.
No.
It's a showstopper.
No, it's a lifestyle thing.
So if you said, oh, home is going to be in Adelaide, okay, well, can we put our money to work in Adelaide if the investing fundamentals stack up? Now, if you do not know where home is going to be, I don't think we're buying a house in the interim.
No, well, it sounds as though they're not buying for 4 years anyway.
Yeah, potentially, but
They're open to suggestions.
yeah, but that's the suggestion. Like,
Yeah.
if you knew categorically we're going to do the trip around Australia
Yeah.
and then buy a house in Adelaide,
Yeah.
okay, well, can you go and keep an eye out over the next 6 months
Yeah.
and steal a house?
Yeah. If the total income's 130, great. If it's 65, we're not lending money anyway. So that's the other bit of the
Yeah.
grey area, isn't it?
And then, so over the next 4 years, in theory, well, we don't know what they're doing around Australia in 3 years, but conservatively, over the next 3 years, they can save 120K, right?
Yeah. The fourth year's free. No savings.
No
'cause
savings. We're just living.
travelling.
So, number one, I'm asking myself the house location question. And it's kind of like this flow chart, because when we do financial strategy, we have to work backwards. If yes, potentially buy a house. Okay. If no, what I want you to do is work out how much you will need to do the trip around Australia. And I don't know, a year-long trip, it actually doesn't say where the trip is.
No.
Whether it's Australia or around the world. You might need 100 grand to do that.
Yeah.
You might need to buy a 40 grand caravan. You might need to buy a 30 grand thing to tow it or carve off 80 grand. You're going to need, we did the episode a few weeks ago, it's going to cost you 10 grand for the year in diesel, on average.
Yeah.
I want you to carve an amount out, because that's the goal that we categorically know about, right?
Yep.
So what I'm going to say is, and we'll call it 100 grand. I'm actually thinking a little bit differently. I'm thinking that the 100 grand that you've got now in your online savings account, that money is your year away fund. Yeah?
Let's say they've got the fourth year catered for.
What do you mean?
So they've already saved for the trip and they've put that aside.
Okay.
That's
Well,
not
they just haven't mentioned it.
No, but let's say that, because
Okay.
otherwise,
We'll say that. They've carved out, they've got 60 grand in another account that's their 12 months away.
mum and dad's going to pay for it or something.
Whatever. Okay.
Because otherwise, you've got to obviously fund the trip somehow. Unless
Okay,
you
so
work.
we've funded the trip, the year-long trip. So the question is, it actually, to me, goes back to the question, where is home going to be and where are you going to land? Now, I hypothesize that if the answer is we don't know, in practice, I generally say if you need the money within the next 4 years, it's not getting invested. Put it in a freaking bank account, get the interest, and get on with your life. Just have cash savings over the next 4 years, because whether you get 5.5% or 4% or 6% interest on 100 grand, it's only going to be $1,000 difference over the 4 years-ish. This is really bad bush
not
maths.
life.
4 grand over the scheme of your life, if that's moving the needle, you've got bigger problems.
Yeah, I mean, roughly it equates to about the interest on the 100 grand at 5.5 is about 6 weeks of their savings.
Yeah.
So that's what they're winning each year by having that 100K invested.
Yeah.
Not
So-
a game changer.
So I'm saying
helps.
we're not putting more than 5% of our total savings into crypto. Like, knock yourself out if you want to buy bloody Melina Trump coin or Donald Trump's coin and make billions and billions and billions. Like, knock yourself out, but have a guardrail there.
Yeah.
You both regularly invest in the share market and crypto and super, and also save. Okay, so they're also saving for a long year. Okay, that might be the ticker there. They've got their 100 grand, but they've got some savings for the trip around Australia.
But yeah, that I read that as that's over and above the 41.
So my suggestion is to bring this home. Number one, well done on being good savers. It all comes back to the house. If a house that you want to live in and call home and you know the area, buy it now as an investment property if you get good investment fundamentals. If not, don't, but keep saving. Use the super saver scheme for both of you. Okay? Also, I'm probably, if I'm being frank, John, you can still be John, I'll be Frank. I'm probably taking the risk, providing they've got an emergency fund and they stay cash heavy for the goal. I'm probably just investing in ETFs and just at least putting the money to work,
Yep.
knowing that in 4 years, if the market has come off a bit, we just say out loud, we're going to delay the home purchase.
Yeah.
That's what I'm probably doing. I'm not getting hugely cute with, 5% savings and all that. We want to know, where's the house going to be? Can you stomach to buy it now? If it is investment fundamentals, get to work investing. If it's a home to live in 4 years and the investment fundamentals don't stack up, use the first home super saver scheme, because the whole thing about the investment fundamentals, John, is you're only ignoring investment fundamentals with property if you're buying it to consume as a house to live in because you like the area, you want to put your roots down. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it's fair. Emotional lifestyle.
Yeah. They're halfway there. They're cracking along.
Yeah, doing well.
They're my suggestions.
And
Both
it must
get
be
on this.
130K income because they wouldn't be
Yeah.
saving for
Yeah.
a trip, and
Yeah.
41 if the
Yeah.
was the
And
case.
this is the trap here. We put 100K in crypto and thankfully it has doubled in value. We're thinking to perhaps do that again. The minute you start to get cute thinking that you've got skill with timing markets, you're going to get flushed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm open to people,
10K in crypto, not 100.
10K into crypto. Like I personally hold Bitcoin. Do you have any crypto?
No.
I personally think, because it's been quite established and settled now, I think anything under 100K is probably a good long-term hold. But I'm not having more than bloody 10% max
Of your total wealth.
of my I've got just my share investing portfolio.
Yeah, okay.
My total wealth, I'm not having more than 2%.